Hello, and welcome to Sports by Compian. My name, of course, is Stephen Compian. Joined here by my co-host and ever-present power of this show, Dan Gill. How are you, Dan?
Doing great. Survived New Year's weekend. Managed to catch some football in person.
Yes, the new year has happened. 2024 is upon us, people. Happy New Year to all the Sports by Compian fanatics. We appreciate your support. We have been growing. Thank you. Continue to share with your friends and family and anyone you may run into, even just random strangers like, dude, sports coverage here, this channel. Anyway, we do have some excellent coverage to get to. We got another exciting week of the NFL took place, so we'll go ahead and cover that, as well as bowl season is in full effect, Daniel. Full effect. It's all coming down to the wire. We're on to the last ones. We're getting to the last days of football, people. Appreciate it while it's here. Let's hop into this, huh? Starting with the NFL. Browns take a victory over the Jets on Thursday Night Football. Daniel, this game, I think the score shows it was kind of close, but if I'm not mistaken, Cleveland was kind of up early in this first half, and then maybe the Jets get back into this in garbage time. Is that sort of the story?
Yeah, I mean, it was 34-14 heading into halftime.
Okay.
And
so if anything, Cleveland did nothing in the second half, basically.
34-17 heading into halftime. So really, there was only 6 points in the second half.
That's hilarious.
This is one that I thought was going to be a shootout all night. The way it was going back and just racking up points. But Cleveland, all in all, was in control at all points of the game. So I don't think there was ever anything to be in question. And, Joe Flacco puts on another 300-plus yard multi-touchdown passing game. He's getting the Browns moving in the right direction at the right time. Big game next week against the Bengals. They do have their spot clinched in the playoffs, which is nice.
Yeah.
Just kind of have to wait and see. They have, I think as long as they win, then they secure the fourth or the fifth seed in the playoffs. So
it's crazy.
They'll have the top wild card spot going into that.
Kevin Stefanski's got to be in the conversation for Coach of the Year as well. It's crazy that he has this team in position to maybe win 12 games when they've been down Deshaun Watson most of the year, putting in random rookie quarterbacks. It's crazy that they're over there succeeding. Shout out to the Cleveland Browns. It's always good to see them succeed. I think people would be a little bit more into them if not for the whole Deshaun Watson thing. So I think that's kind of why they're maybe not completely the darlings of the NFL like they used to be a little bit every time they were successful,
Yeah.
But anyway, moving on. Dallas Cowboys. Sorry, what was that, Dan?
So I'm sure they'll get over it if Joe Flacco is the one leading the charge.
Exactly. Wow, this interruption real quick. This Liberty is getting absolutely butchered by Oregon State. No, by Oregon, I'm sorry. In the Fiesta Bowl? Yeah, the Fiesta Bowl.
Fiesta Bowl.
Dude, the quarterback from Liberty has the most ridiculous helmet I've ever seen on camera. And maybe it's for his own protection, so not to shit on the guy, but yeah, pretty funny. But yeah, in the era of people opting out in these bowl games, dude, Bo Nix is playing in this game. Kid has 365 yards and 5 touchdowns. I think I sent a little bit of a message, I'm not only am I not opting out of this game, but I'm going to come in here and absolutely destroy Liberty on my way off to the NFL. I think that's pretty cool coming from Bo Nix. I kind of like this guy.
Yeah, because there's always that long debate of,
am I going to get hurt?
And we'll say this in there later, but yeah, am I going to get hurt, or do you need these games to get those last minute, stat paddings to kind of show off one more time before pro day?
Yeah.
There's a million ways to go about it, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah, let's hop into that in a hot minute. But either way, we'll continue with the NFL scores for now because the Dallas Cowboys pulled off probably the most controversial win we've seen in a while. What the fuck was going on, Dan? Did the NFL script writers just go bananas? Was Dan Campbell in on it by going for it 3 times in a row when the forces that be were clearly like, no, Dan, no. And he was like, I don't want overtime. They're like, Dan, we want overtime. He's like, no! And I think this was just a rebellion against the forces that be. And that's why the Lions had to lose, unfortunately. But what I'm wondering about all this whole thing is the NFL just losing it, man? Like, what the fuck is going on, Daniel? This is crazy. That call was out of control. But overall, as far as the actual game goes, very competitive game, close back and forth, good defense on both sides. Hayden Hutchinson's a bad man. So is Michael Parsons. I love to see it.
Yeah, no, I've heard multiple conspiracies, rumors, whatever you want to call it, about it.
Sure.
About what happened, but one consistent one seems to be kind of coming to light now is, they're claiming that they didn't report, but there's a video that shows them reporting.
Which the NFL took down, didn't they?
But this is what I've heard. So I don't know if they took it down, but from what I heard was even though they reported the number is eligible, they did it wrong, like the Lions. Because from what the thing that I said was they said 70 was eligible, not 68. 70 lined up as the tackle, and then 68 lined up as who should have been the eligible receiver and ran. So they told them the wrong number and they lined up the wrong way. That's not if that's apparently what actually happened. That's not the NFL's fault. That's not the ref's fault.
Coming right from a Packers fan, trusted source, absolutely. No, I'm not buying it, Dan. I'm buying into the fuck the NFL on this one because I've been on that train since last Sports by Compian. I think they're fucking up hard, and frankly, the whole thing's stupid. Stupid, Dan. They should just let it go. Stupid. I don't like it. I don't like the rule. I don't like any of the videos showing. I don't like any of it, Dan. Bullshit. Either way, Cowboys pull off a win. Works out for my pick'em. We move on to an absolute shellacking. The Miami Dolphins got absolutely destroyed by Baltimore. Dude, this Baltimore defense, when are people going to start realizing that? They are dangerous.
I mean, I think everybody's known their defense is dangerous all year, but their offense is really starting to click now too. And that's where they get really scary because there was pieces throughout the year that their offense just wasn't getting it together, even though they were winning the games. They weren't exactly getting all those pieces together. And I think aside from the Cardinals game, obviously the Browns loss was a tough one, but they've been rolling ever since. But their offense is starting to get their pieces together, staying healthy. And when that defense starts flying around, there's not much you can do about it.
Dude, it's scary, man. They are freaking balling out right now, making the early 2000s Ravens defenses proud, I'm sure.
Yeah, 3 takeaways is a good day for your defense.
So is this the Miami Dolphins are a terrible team, or is this that the Baltimore Ravens are just really, really good and they come along today?
I think it could be both because here's the thing. Much like people like to point out for the Cowboys that typically the Cowboys struggle against teams above 500.
Yeah.
That was the same case for the Dolphins this year too.
Mm-hmm.
So,
it's not great. It's not great going into the playoffs, McDaniels, to get absolutely hammered like that.
And then
plus this Miami defense, man, they've been pretty solid for most of the year. So for them to kind of have 2 rough weeks in a row going into the playoffs isn't great either.
Yeah, and now that puts them in a really bad spot because either they win the division next week if they beat the Bills, or if they lose to the Bills, they become the 6th seed in the wild card.
And I'm sorry, the Miami defense was fine last week. They only gave up 20 some points to the Cowboys.
Yeah, it was. You're thinking of the Titans games a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, it could be. Either way, the Miami defense is hit or miss sometimes, and when they're on, they're on. But
when they're off, they're off.
It seems that way.
Yeah,
that they just reversed that they've been reversed on. I mean, people on the internet are pointing this out, but how they put the shellacking on Denver, and then it comes right back around on you guys. Unfortunately,
just how it goes.
How it goes, man. It's funny that it happened in one season, though.
That's true.
Anyway, the Dolphins outlast the Patriots.
Bills.
Sorry, the Bills. They're pulling off these tight ass wins, Daniel. They don't seem to want to let their fans have nice, relaxing wins. But it's the Patriots, so we talked about it on here. Bill Belichick was going to cook up some cool shit. It's crazy. Every time they flash this kicker for the Patriots, he seems to be missing his kicks. So that's interesting, and I wonder what he's a rookie or something. But either way, I'd be curious what Cooper thinks about this. Either way, I'm impressed that the Patriots were able to hang in this one. That's what you're going to get from the Belichick team. They're not just going to roll over. They just need some stars, dude. They need something.
They need a quarterback, and they might be in a different fortune. But
Stevenson was out for this game too.
Yeah, but I mean, we've been, like I've said before, we try to write the Bills off. They've pretty much gotten going at the right time. But the thing is, even though they're winning games lately, I just feel like they have a hard time putting teams away. Aside from the Cowboys game a couple weeks ago, they were pretty much back and forth with the Chargers. They let them stay in that game after they took the lead. But the Eagles, they ended up losing that one in overtime. But in that Eagles game, they were up 17-7 at one point, and then up 24-14 as well. So, I'm just very curious if they're going to have the ability in the playoffs to really put someone away, because these are going to be better. They're doing it to teams that are kind of on the bubble or below the bubble. It's going to be tough to do. Like I said, Cowboys are the exception. They came out and rolled them a couple weeks ago, but I'm really curious if they can put teams away in the playoffs.
Agreed. It's gonna be quite interesting, this playoff run, man. We'll do the playoff scenario here at the end of this, Dan. But me and Omazer were looking at it at breakfast for the AFC side. It's gonna be wild, dude. There's gonna be some teams absolutely screwed over this year. It's kind of crazy. The Bears take care of business against the Atlanta Falcons. Thank you, Bears. Us Bucs fans do appreciate that with our travesty of a day. We'll get to that in a hot minute. But yes, Bears are looking good these last couple weeks. Their defense has been on. Justin Fields is playing for his job, as we've mentioned, and looking good while he does it. I think the Bears fans were chanting his name at the end of the game. Huge for the kid. It's good to see a random sports fan who was just asking me the other night, Justin Fields is going to have a job next week? Next year? I'm like, absolutely. If it's not with the Bears, somebody else is absolutely going to give this guy a chance. He's not done.
Yeah, no, he's not done, and maybe he's playing himself into another year. Who knows? But
at least another year, if not a couple. Dude, we live in the world of Casey Keenum still getting starts out there. So no shade to Casey Keenum. He's actually a buck killer, but that's not hard to do. Okay, the Bucs get killed by a lot of people. But anyway, we definitely live in a world where that guy's going to be in the league for a lot longer. Did you see that play where he escaped like two different people and ran out of bounds?
No.
Dude, so they had him, he throws off the first defender, which was Bud Dupree, no slouch. Then he gets hit by the defensive tackle, who literally had him in a wrap tackle. Somehow he just scampers out of it and picks up 17 yards on the sideline. It was incredible, Dan. It was a very impressive play, and we've seen these kind of plays out of him throughout his career. So I'll be curious what he continues to do. I know you're probably hating on him a little bit as a Packers fan, but I'm interested to see what he continues to do. DJ Moore, maybe one of the most unsung wide receivers in the NFL right now. Guy's been an absolute stud all year long down there, and he continues to ball out for the Bears. On a final note, shout out Tyler Algier with that freaking screen. That was sick, dude. The dude took like a 70, 80-yard touchdown to the house, and it was quite impressive. They almost returned a missed field goal at the end of the half for a touchdown. They really could have used that, because ultimately couldn't hang with the Bears. That Bears defense is doing some solid work. What do you think about this one, Dan?
Yeah, like I said, they're a team much like you saw the Lions last year. Not saying they're going to do what the Lions did, but they were starting to find their pieces late in the season, giving themselves something to build off of. I believe I read that they do now, in fact, have the number 1 seed clinched, and then they're going to end up with another very high draft pick as well. So kind of with getting their pieces together late in the season here, and then having 2 valuable draft picks, maybe they might be someone to watch out for next year.
Agreed. They're definitely going to have a very interesting draft because they're slated to be like number 1 with Carolina having lost.
Yeah. I think last time I checked, it was like number 1 and like number 7 or something like that.
That's crazy. 2 picks in the first 10. It's gonna be nice.
It might be a little further back that they won this week, but I think like last week it was like 7th or 8th or something like that.
Well, either way, they're gonna get some very nice picks in this first draft, in the first round of the draft. So good for them. Anyway, moving on. Let me go ahead and share this with you, Dan. I've been sharing this whole time. Poor bastard. You just guessing. Not even sure what we'll talk about next. Well, anyway, the Tennessee Titans decided not to show up on offense today against the Texans. CJ Stroud and the boys looking good, man. You know, they did enough to win this game. Will Levis left, I want to say, in like the second quarter or so with an injury. So rough day for him. But yes, the Texans pull out a division win and a very needed win to stay on this playoff hunt, which is going to get wild down the stretch here.
Yeah, big win for them. Good to get CJ Stroud back. I think that was kind of a bigger key piece for them.
Sure.
Also, with everybody else in there, we'll get to it later. But with Jacksonville and Indy both winning, they kind of had to keep pace with them. So they're kind of stuck scoreboard watching to make sure that they're staying in that division title race. But tough break for Will Levis. Again, they're a team that I'm curious to see what they're going to do in the draft. I think it's been established that they're going to be through a rebuild. So, who else is going to leave? Where there's rumors during the season about Derrick Henry going, but they didn't come out for that. But all in all, I think statement win. With Houston being pretty relatively healthy, they looked like the team that we've been seeing all year.
Agreed. Especially with CJ Stroud back at the helm, they are definitely dangerous down the stretch. And they will be taking on the Colts next week, right? Am I right about that? The Colts, Texans?
Houston's at Indy. Yeah. So very well could be for the division title.
Very well could be for the division title. The Raiders fall short against the Colts in this particular game, but do put up quite a fight. But Gardner Minshew and the boys ultimately get the job done. He found Alec Pierce for a beautiful long bomb. Alex takes it to the house. He seems to be finding his stride there a little bit in year 2. Hopefully he can back up Michael Pittman down there a little bit better. So yeah, they're looking a little dangerous at the right time. I think that like we mentioned with the Falcons, you never know who the heck you're getting. So it could have been just a big old spree against the Falcons last week. They seem to be back in control. It's going to be a really good game between the Texans and the Colts next week. I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah. Because I think very well whoever wins that also might get could end up getting the last wild card spot as well.
Are you looking at that AFC picture? It's crazy.
It is, yeah.
We got to get to that in a second, but I think there's going to be like 2 teams with double-digit wins that may be out of the playoffs.
Yeah, it's possible, yeah.
It's crazy. So anyway, moving on, we got the Panthers, we got the Jaguars. The Panthers, the headline coming out of this is your boy David Tepper just doing David Tepper stuff. I don't know if I've ever seen an owner have such a bad season, Dan. I don't know if I've ever seen an NFL owner take this many L's in one season as Mr. Tepper is taking. He caught on camera throwing water at a fan and then scampering off like a child.
Yeah, I would like.
Dude, what are you doing?
I want to know the backing on that because,
who cares? If that guy was talking shit to you all day long and just continued, you walk away. You're a billionaire. What are you doing?
No, I'm not excusing what he did, but I would love to know the lead up to the situation.
I bet it was amusing. I would have liked to be a fly on the wall too. I bet that would have been amusing because he's just sitting there watching his team get absolutely smashed, and he's just like, no, No, I can't take this anymore.
Just can't. I can't handle it.
Oh yeah, what a weekend for David Tepper. His Carolina Panthers are looking horrible. He doesn't have a first round draft pick. Good times, man. Good times.
And then an interesting part that we would discussed. Trevor Lawrence did not play in this game. CJ Beathard played. So I like that they were able to
stay the course.
They were able to get risky.
Another backup get to win in the NFL. I'd be curious what the backup's overall record is in the NFL this year.
Yeah, me too. But it's taking the risky gamble of Carolina is like one of the worst teams in the league.
Yeah,
let's give them a break. Which I suggested the other week. But I'm curious now with how much is on the line next week with them playing at Tennessee. If they're in another situation to kind of let Beathard do it again, or are we going to see Trevor Lawrence back?
Who knows? That is a good question though, and I wouldn't count out Mike Vrabel in that last week. With nothing to lose, just playing spoiler. I wouldn't want to play. I wouldn't want to play.
They still have Tannehill, so it's not like they're in a bad situation.
Tannehill's going to be a backup next year, though, right? I don't see anyone paying him to be a starter.
Unless someone goes down early.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's what I mean. So backup and then, maybe a slotted in starter.
Or if he doesn't get signed, he'll get signed to start for someone that goes down.
True. All right, well, we got the Rams. We got the Giants. This game was way closer than I think a lot of people thought, myself for sure. But the Rams ultimately do get the job done and clinch a playoff spot. Oh, yeah, Tyrod Taylor, dude. The dude, bombs 2 passes in this game. One of them obviously gets picked off by the safety, and I'm just like, oh, yeah, I've tried to throw that into 2 high safeties in Madden 2, but I know what you mean. Tyrod is tough. And then he didn't give up, man. Second one, he went for it again, and he got it the second time. So, shout out Tyrod Taylor, gunslinger that he is. Falls a point short. Like I said, I think a lot of people didn't see that one coming.
Yeah, I think they failed the 2-point conversion.
Oh, yeah, that checks out.
I appreciate
the guts. I appreciate the balls.
Trying to, make a statement win there.
Sure.
They're another market that what's going to go on with their UB room. Is Daniel Jones going to be back next year? Ready for the season? Or is he going to be still out? Tommy Cutlets is now benched, and back to Tyrod Taylor. So
sad.
They're just all over the place. But
it's depressing if you're a Giants fan. I'm sorry, guys.
I would imagine Tyrod Taylor's starting next week too. So.
Because, at least if you're a Jets fan, there's always all right, man, they're promising Rodgers is the savior. Maybe he really is. Whereas if you're a Giants fan,
Daniel Jones.
This is rough. You got to believe in Daniel Jones. You have to. You've paid the kid. He led you to the playoffs last year. You got to believe in him. Get him a better offensive line, apparently.
Yeah.
Couldn't hurt.
And especially with, Saquon having a decent year, that's got to be frustrating.
Yeah, tough times all around. And plus, Saquon stayed healthy all year, so missed there. Cardinals, Eagles. I'll let you hop into this one because you were actually at the game in live covering it for Sportsnet Compian. We love to see it, hear it, watch it.
Live it.
Tell us about this game.
Yeah, it was really a tale of 2 halves. The Eagles were just so dominant in the first half, moving the ball down the field very well. They had a 99-yard touchdown for interception for a return. And heading into halftime, they were up 21-6. Things felt good. And then kind of the wheels just started falling off there. The Cardinals tied it up towards the end of the third quarter, but it was just they couldn't get plays going. They were doing a lot of checkdowns, options, and draws where the Cardinals did a really good job of containing the outside, so they were having a hard time getting around the edge. But they didn't have, when they would do the draws where Hurts either was going to make a last-second throw or scramble for it, he just kind of didn't know what to do and was taking several sacks that cost them big chunks of yards at crucial points in the game. And then they were driving down the field to try to win it at the end. And he's just doing like little 5-yard out routes when they're on the other side of the 50, and there's less than 2 minutes left in the game. So they ended up throwing an interception in the end zone to seal the loss, but it was they weren't stretching the field that well. And for as much as Julio Jones did in the first half, whether they put an extra body on him or what, but like he just.
It was crazy, dude. Like Julio Jones was a resurgence suddenly. Like I learned the other day he was signed on to the Eagles. I was like, oh, that's cool. And then there he is, just balls out suddenly.
Yeah, he got 2 touchdowns. I think A.J. Brown still led with receiving yards, but he only had 53. So, it was just they were kind of abandoning what they did. Swift looked good. He was eating up good chunks of yards when he was getting the ball, but they just, couldn't get it at the end. And I don't know, it's just the Brian Johnson they were calling for his head in the stands.
Oh,
whether it was him or the head coach is going out, but they're like, it's the 4th time this year that it's just horrible play calling. It's cost them the game, and there's really no way around it.
It's crazy they lost that lead.
And also, like they were horrible over the middle on defense. They were playing pretty soft in coverage. So I think pretty much any slant that went over the middle, whether it was out of the slot or tight end,
just take it to the house.
They weren't taking it to the house, but they're getting 5 to 7 yards a catch at least.
Yeah.
Without yards after catch, just So if you're
shout out to Kyle Murray.
If you're gonna play soft over the middle, that's what you're gonna get. And too bad there wasn't Call of Duty this weekend to help them out.
Well, shout out to Kyle Murray, late in a good comeback here. Still doing his thing down there. So I mentioned it last week. It's just pretty impressive to me.
I mean, he's another guy who's like, much like Justin Fields. Is he gonna stay in Arizona, or do you think they're gonna ship him somewhere else? Try to draft a QB in the draft this year. It's really interesting to see where he goes. I think very much he's playing for whatever next year may hold, whether it's as a Cardinal or someone else. So he's just trying to basically put an audition piece for everybody out. And he hasn't looked overly terrible since he got back.
No.
But, kind of have to wait and see what they do. But, I think the Cardinals might stick with him. That's my opinion.
I agree, Daniel. This other terrible game happened. So don't let this score deceive you, Daniel. This game was not a 10-point difference game. I don't know what happened with the Buccaneers if they decided to go ahead and party the night before and showed up to the game hungover, but they sure as fuck looked like they were hungover. Apparently, I missed the first drive because I was off at the gym, but dude, apparently this a long-ass drive, drove it down there, scored to Jermaine Johnson, who apparently we just could not cover all day long. Just like him, and we have a tight end who's also not great, like Trevor, whatever his name is, dude. These 2 tight ends are not super impressive. They haven't done it all year, but goddamn, they just tore apart the Buccaneers secondary. I don't even hold the defense so much to blame for all this. Dude, the offense just did nothing. And then when they were doing something right, they completely fucked it up immediately. Trevor, we had 4 turnovers overall, and 3 of them were in the red zone of the Saints. So that's great. We finally get something going in the second half on a drive. Rashad White didn't look right after a hit. But he comes back in. He's carrying the ball, and he's literally like jogging, Dan. But he always likes to kind of do that and kind of follow his blocks. So I'm like, all right, whatever. So he gets chased down from behind by the safety, fucking loses the ball. Just an absolute drive, not only drive killer, momentum killer, everything killer. And then, the same thing happens with Baker Mayfield a couple drives later. Like, he just throws up the pass to Devin Moore. I don't know what happened, but Devin Moore doesn't see it. The safety who had knocked out the ball earlier definitely did, pops over, snatches it. And then, late in the game, it's still crazy because we just still have opportunities because the Saints suck. Okay, the Franks they're a terrible team, terrible organization. It's been said before. So we're still in this game somehow, despite having like no offense and many turnovers. Chuck a deep ball to Palmer, who had a decent game. He catches it. I'm like, holy shit, Palmer actually caught a ball, and then he fucking runs it into the ground and fumbles. It summed up our day. It just was not our day. Somehow we got a couple touchdowns at the end, totally irrelevant. Buccaneers. Oh yeah, the defense got a chance to fuck that up too. We finally got a touchdown with a little bit of momentum, and the defense just lets them have the longest drive of all time and score another touchdown. So yeah, beyond frustrating of a day where we could have just won this and clinched the division. Now we got to make it harder on ourselves to go to Carolina next week, which may not sound hard, but dude, after the way these guys just played, I have no idea. Plus, Carolina played as well at home earlier in the year. So yeah, no, by no means super confident that we're just going to take this division. Plus, I wanted 10 wins, Dan. I don't think that's selfish. Like what the hell happened?
Now, is there a concern for? I mean, I think I heard yesterday during the Sunday Night Football pregame show that Baker would be good to go for next week despite suffering that rib injury in the game. Have they said anything more about that?
There hasn't been a lot of information. We're in the very early stages of this. There is some Bucs fans immediately calling for his head and Todd Bowles' head. These guys they're like locusts. They just like all had to be quiet for a couple weeks. And the minute that this has happened, they're all back in here like, this is what I was saying. This is what I told you guys. He's trash. Okay. He had a bad game. I was just sitting there with amazing this morning. He's sitting there telling me about how Baker's trash. It's like, guys.
Well, no, dude. It's like after the Green Bay game, everybody's like, give him a 4-year contract. And then like what, two weeks later?
We're calling for the dude's head. It's pretty freaking amusing.
In the week, the week before against the Jaguars, he threw for like almost 300 yards, and everybody's like, you see, got it. I think he earned himself a contract.
I still think he should get a contract. He's going to have some bad days. This was pretty inexplicable, but if there's any team that can make the Buccaneers do this, it's the Saints. Yeah. Looking back a couple of years ago to Tom Brady going to Sunday Night Football, supposed to be a big spectacular game. No, dude, our offense looked like utter garbage. I don't think we scored till like the third quarter or something like that. It might have been the game where Chris Godwin got legit hurt and hasn't been the same ever since. That game was just utter fiasco. Bucs fans will remember it well. So if there's any team that can do this to us, it's the fucking Saints. They kind of have our number a little bit.
Every team kind of has a team that they can't get around no matter what.
I mean, Todd Bowles has been 3-0 against them, to be fair, but this one was holy shit, Todd. You did not have your team ready for this one, and you did not rally them at halftime either. I mean, he kind of did. If it would have just not turned the ball over so go damn much, dude, it was just ridiculous.
Did he not give him the right flavored juice box?
Definitely did not. Dan,
not
not give them.
Not enough orange slices.
Not enough orange slices. It's all a mess, Dan. Let's just move on. Let's pretend that never happened. I hope the Bucs do the same, because if they drop the ball again and the Saints get in over us, I might be sick. I might literally get sick. Anyway.
Can we live stream that?
Oh, no, we cannot. 49ers take care of business against the Washington Commanders. I was told this morning that 17-point win just isn't that impressive. And all right, maybe. But it's also the fucking NFL, dude. Let's not get crazy with this. Granted, that game was probably close for longer than San Francisco fans would have liked. But ultimately, they still get the job done. They still look decent doing it. I still think they're the best. They're the class of the NFC.
I mean, yeah, it was like 13-10. They took the lead just heading into halftime, and then didn't look back. They put up a couple points there in the second half with two touchdowns. But I think we've said this before about Washington, not to take anything away from anybody, but they're a team that I think that they're a couple pieces away from being a wild card contender. So you've seen flashes of it here and there. They almost made the playoffs last year, so it's not out of the realm. Even some of their losses haven't been the worst.
Yeah.
Per se. They have a lot of one possession losses this year. So it would kind of be, interesting to see if you flipped all of those, where they would be. But, yeah, maybe the 49ers got humbled a little bit after that Ravens game. But all in all, I don't think there's a cause for concern from anybody in San Francisco. Like you said, there's a class in the NFC. They're going to take care of what needs to be done, and they'll be that number one seed.
Agreed. Moving on from that game, we also have the Steelers securing a victory against the Seahawks, securing Frankie's bet. Oh, what a glorious, happy day. We hope to get Frankie on here shortly for him to tell us about this, but wow. From where this looked a couple weeks ago, Dan, that George Perkins criticism was probably the best thing that could have happened to that team, because they have woken up, it seems, put Pete Carroll's playoff hopes to bed, and they are now one game away from actually saving my bet, Dan, which is kind of crazy. It was looking like my bet was for sure done, though. So it's all pretty interesting out here.
And then, with that win over the Seahawks, it keeps their playoff hopes alive.
Yep.
Because I think if they lost, they would have been eliminated.
Sure.
So, they're barely holding on. There's a lot that has to happen, but so happy for Frankie, because there was a time that we didn't think that he was going to win that at all.
We were worried.
Because the way Steelers are going downhill, Mason Rudolph stepping in for him at the right time. I saw an interesting article this morning, though, that Big Ben said that when he was there with him, he tried to mentor him, and he said that he didn't need his help.
Who is this?
Apparently Mason Rudolph turned down Big Ben's help.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's actually really funny. I wonder if that's true.
Yeah, me too. But,
why would you do that if you're Mason Rudolph, dude? If that is true, you're an idiot.
Yeah, but I think this is a statement win for them, given how well Seattle's played. Because they've had a good defense, but the others just find a way. Mike Tomlin finds a way to keep a streak going. 17 straight seasons of
crazy.
A winning record or a non-losing record.
Please fire him, Steelers. Do it, you idiots. Man, anyone who was calling for his head, you should feel like a moron.
Yeah.
Anyway, the Chargers, Broncos, what a slugfest, huh? Didn't quite see this one, but my boy Austin Eckler managed to be disappointing yet again in the absolute championship. I was playing for third place, but still, Austin, what another disappointment.
I mean, in all fairness, when we see that we have Easton Stick and Jared Stidham as the starting quarterbacks, I took the faith of the Broncos defense and left it at that.
I mean, I was kind of curious to see what Stidham could do, but apparently not a lot. And on another note, I do love that the NFL is opening an investigation on Denver about this whole thing. That does sound crazy shady. It doesn't say you could just go up to a guy and be like, motherfucker, if you don't adjust your contract, you're fucking out of here. That doesn't sound right, Dad. That can't be how business is done, dude. Come on, this is the mafia. I mean, and also, fuck Sean Payton. Love to see this idiot getting dragged through the mud because he is a scumbag, Dan. I'll go ahead and say that for free. I don't personally know the man, but he looks like another scumbag, and he seems like a douchebag too. So I'm so glad to see him going through this. Fuck you, Sean Payton.
I mean, for as well as Russell Wilson was playing down the stretch here, I don't know how you bench him. I think he was in the top 6 of what was it? The TD interception ratio. He's up there with Allen, Mahomes, Jackson, and yet he's the only one in the top 6 benched. So it all it's all real fishy. I get that they're eliminated, but you still could finish on a strong note. Again, going back to what we said about the Bears, what we said the Lions did last year. You end on a strong note. You have places to build from. with, on paper, a good quarterback and good head coach. But instead, they kind of want to implode that. And the Chargers are just waiting for Herbert to get healthy again.
It's all madness to me, but I'm amused to watch it all transpire. Good luck to the Chargers.
You think Sean Payton could be gone after this year?
Nah, no chance.
No chance?
No, it sounds like he has tons of control over there, and the owner's here. So he'll be fine. Little scumbag that he is. Anyway, the Bengals went ahead and lost to the Chiefs. The Chiefs, at times in this game, had their fans sweating. Cedric texted throughout this game to me and some other people and called the Chiefs trash, and some other teams as well, which isn't worth mentioning. But also, yeah, CUM was not believing in them. They ultimately do come back and win this game. But yeah, they struggled, Dan. They were limping a little bit through this one. I think if you get Joe Burrow on the other side at quarterback, it might have been a different story.
Yeah, I mean, the Bengals went out 17-7 early into the second quarter. And
then they decided not to score any more points. I mean, it's unnecessary scoring in the third and fourth quarter. That's overrated.
Who needs to do that? I mean, now I love that the Chiefs won on Steven's favorite thing, just
a bunch of field goals.
Kicking 6 straight field goals.
On a quick note, I heard from I have a couple different fantasy subreddits, and just the amount of people that are just like, dude, Harrison Buckner just destroyed me with like 24 points. It's not fair. In the championship game. It's hilarious.
Because not only did he kick 6 field goals, but depending on how your yarding is rated, he kicked a 54, 43, 27, 24, 48, and 46. That's
got to be an all-time fantasy record for a kicker.
Yeah, so you could have got hosed on if there was bonuses for yardage.
Oh yeah, he probably set an all-time record for fantasy kickers for sure. What a day!
What a day! Yeah, I mean,
what an historic day and fascinating football to watch. I do love field goals.
Talk about pressure on him,
dude. That's hilarious. Well, Jake Browning should have got his boys into more field goal range. We might have helped out. Damn it, Jake! What's going on with you?
Not wrong, and I believe.
How do you do in this game?
With that, they're eliminated.
Yeah, he is eliminated. Yeah, I mean, he didn't do bad, but he didn't do good. Right. 197, 1 touchdown.
No, I think since the Steelers, that Steelers
game, 3 receptions, 41 yards. He can't be happy.
We kind of saw him come back down to earth with that.
There we go.
Yeah, I think that Steelers game kind of just really took a lot out of them. So,
I mean, yeah, they're out of it at this point. Jake Browning's hurrah seems to be closing out. We'll see how he does in this final week. But yeah, that's a wrap for the Cincinnati Bengals. I mean, we all knew it was a wrap whenever Joe Burrow went down. So really, it was just kind of impressive that Jake kept them in there for a little bit longer. But they will not be a part of that insane AFC playoff race. The Packers will be much a part of the NFC playoff race, however. Not a terrible transition there, Dan. We got to be a little smoother, but, I'm working on it. Yeah, anyway, so Packers 33-10. I did see parts of this game. Ultimately, I don't know what they were thinking, Benjamin Nick Mullins. It's kind of like the commentator, I think it was Chris Collins, was like, I mean, put Nick in there. He's fun to watch. He's going to throw a bunch of touchdowns, a bunch of picks. It's going to be a good time. He's basically the new Jameis Winston, maybe a slightly younger guy, because they're probably around the same age. So he's just another Jameis Winston type of guy, man. Put him in there because, frankly, this rookie looked well out of depth. He was not ready for the day. The Packers defense made him look bad. Like, they were coming up on Twitter, on Reddit the next day, like, dude, you got benched to the Packers defense at halftime. That's how bad you were. So, yeah. Not a great day for that kid. Ultimately, Packers take care of business, though. Jordan Love is looking good, dude.
Yeah, they finally got Aaron Jones really moving the ball there. He had 120 yards rushing as well. So, it was nice to kind of see all that. Bo Melton, big game out of him, as well as, Tucker Kraft with some couple key catches there. helping move the ball down the field as well. So, things are starting to flow a little bit better on the offensive side. Feel good about going against the Bears next week. It's a winning in. That's all they got to do. Winning in.
That's it. Winning in. So good for the Packers. They take care of business, send the Vikings out of the playoff race. If you're Justin Jefferson, you got to be disappointed, especially going for that 1,000-yard season. Although Nick Mullins came in at the end there and got a touchdown, so I'm sure he'll be starting for them going forward. I could be wrong, though, Dan. You never know what's in these coaches' heads.
I mean, they're another team that could go out and sign somebody because there's no giving that Kirk Cousins is going to re-sign with them next year.
Right. I don't know if they're going to show us the
or they could draft.
Here we go. Playoff picture, baby. What's the situation at hand? All right, Dan. Am I showing this? Let me add you in there.
I got it.
All right, cool. Nope, wrong thing. So yeah, playoff situation. We got the Ravens have now clinched the #1 spot after destroying the Dolphins. I think the Dolphins do have the AFC East locked up. Is that correct, or could they still lose it to the? Yeah, they could still lose it to Buffalo, right?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. If they lose, they're the #6 seed. If they win, they're the #2 seed.
Okay. All right, so they are still going to get in. They do have a playoff spot locked up. The Chiefs lock up a playoff spot with their win over Cincinnati. The Browns have now locked up a playoff spot as well. So they have one of the 2 wild cards, right? Or do they have the North?
One of the 3.
One of the 3 because, because the Ravens. Is there 3 wild card spots?
Yeah, 5, 6, 7. So because the AFC South hasn't been clinched yet for the division.
So there's 3 wild card spots is what you're saying. Interesting.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so then that makes more sense. Then there's going to be a little bit more room for people then. So, yeah, the Browns have one of them then. So the rest of the people who are fighting for that are the Jaguars, Bills, and Colts, and Texans, and Steelers. So, yeah, that's interesting. This is going to be a crazy race here. So who do the Jaguars have next?
They have Tennessee.
They have Tennessee. So that's going to be a nice, easy win for them. If they win that, they win the AFC South. Is that how it works?
Yeah, I believe if they win, they win it.
Okay. And then basically it's between the Colts and the Texans. Whoever wins has a chance to get one of the wild card spots.
Or they could jump up and win the division if Jacksonville loses.
Right. Okay. And then the Bills, who do we know who they have?
The Bills, they play the Dolphins. That's the game where if the Bills win, they win the division. If
they lose, they could be out of the playoffs.
They could potentially be out of the playoffs altogether as well,
depending on what happens with the Steelers.
Right, because if the Steelers lose, then the Steelers are eliminated. Yeah. So
okay, yeah, because that would make sense. Okay.
And then if Jacksonville and Indy win, and the Bills lose, and the Steelers lose, then they're fine.
Okay.
Because the Texans would also lose, so then that would help them out. Yeah.
Wow, what a last week it's going to turn out to. I'm here for it, man.
Pretty much, I think Buffalo needs Indy to beat Houston to give them a good shot, regardless of what they do.
Yeah.
And then they probably still would need. They would probably still need the Steelers to still lose too.
It's going to be interesting to see how that all works out. Over on the NFC side, we do have the 49ers clinch the West. The Cowboys have now clinched the East, right, with that loss for the Eagles? No, that's not clinched yet. That's still got to be up for debate. We do know the Lions have the North. Yeah, the Eagles and the Cowboys are just taking turns watching this. So who knows what's going.
Yeah, because all the Eagles had to do was win yesterday, and they won the division.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's interesting. I guess you can come down to that last week. Is that Cowboys-Eagles last? No, they've already played each other twice, right?
Yeah, so it's Giants, Eagles, and Cowboys, Commanders.
So if the Eagles win, they win the division. If not, and the Cowboys win, then they win the division type of thing.
I think they both win. I think Dallas wins it because they split the season series, and right now the Cowboys are the #1 team in the division.
Interesting. It does say that, yeah. Huh. All right.
Yeah, so.
And then the Rams have already clinched their playoff spot. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers could have clinched the South if they would have just won, but instead they decided not to show up. So now they got to go clinch it in Carolina. The Packers, you said they're winning in, right?
Yeah, winning in
Who do they got?
Chicago.
Chicago. Ooh, Dan. Hold on, let's get your live reaction on this. The Bears, Dan?
No, like I said, I feel confident about that matchup.
All right. Well, we're gonna find out. That's a very interesting last game for you guys to have as you're winning in.
And
against
then
a hot Bears team.
Then you have the Saints Falcons play each other.
Which, if the Saints win, they win the division. I think if the Falcons win and the Bucks lose, they could also still win the division.
Yeah.
So I think it's basically the winner of that has a chance to win the division if the Buccaneers stumble. And then the Vikings, I think they're out of this now. This is just hasn't been updated yet, and same as the Seahawks. I don't think there's a scenario where they get in, right?
The Seahawks, I think, are the only team left, but they would have to win, and Green Bay would have to lose.
That's who could get in. Okay, all right. So but what if they lose as well? Then I guess the Packers could still get in.
I guess.
Or maybe the Saints would get in as a wild card because
they
would be 9 and 8. They would be 9 and 8.
Get in. Yeah, the Saints could get in. Yeah.
Huh.
I might have to play with the playoff simulator later.
Dude, this is going to be crazy, bro. It's going to be a wild last week. I don't know if we've had a week this interesting, a final week of the NFL this interesting in a while.
Yeah, so they announced the schedule for next week. So Saturday, 4:30 is Steelers at Ravens, and then at 8:15 is Houston at Indy. Both games on ABC. So we'll kind of get a good idea of what that AFC South picture looks like heading into Sunday for what Jacksonville needs to do.
Yeah.
And then the Sunday night game is Bills at Dolphins.
It's going to get crazy out here, Dan. Hopping into some college football, though, that took place over the course of the weekend and such. I don't know really where we've left off. I feel like we talked about Tulane. It's kind of hard to track at this point. I feel like we're somewhere around here, where Arizona went ahead and took care of business against Oklahoma. Very interesting win for them. I didn't see that coming. I think I took Oklahoma on this. But they sort of handled business and got lots of touchdowns. Shout out to Arizona. They could be very good at going into these spots. If we do some college football playoffs next year, that'll be fun. North Carolina State. Well, they did lose to Kansas State. So me and Dan saw parts of this game. North Carolina had a great mustache at quarterback, but apparently it wasn't enough, Daniel. SMU falls to Boston College. I think some people were surprised by this one too. SMU is ranked, but Boston College brought the thunder, and they get the job done.
I mean, Boston College at times this year was kind of putting up some good fights against some quality teams. So not surprised that they kind of did something here. Now, interesting part about this game is starting next year, SMU will actually be in the ACC with Boston College. So get a little bit of a future conference preview.
I like it. And Rutgers, man, what a win. I don't necessarily like Greg. I'm not going to be, biased.
I didn't see that coming. But
I don't like Greg Schiano, but shout out to Rutgers. It is New Jersey State, so I'm here for it. They pull off a win against Florida, against Miami, which I don't think anyone really saw coming. But then I saw their record. I think they're like 7-7, and they're in the Big Ten.
7-6, yeah.
They're in the Big Ten, so that's impressive, man. Or even 6-6 if they were it's all pretty quality opponents, and I know they got thrown in there in the last 2 or 3 years. So Rutgers, the Scarlet Knights are coming up, baby.
Yeah, I was surprised because I also checked the line on this. The Rutgers had the line at 2.5, so I was a little surprised by that. I know Miami's had some struggles this year, so maybe that's kind of what did it.
Maybe they had a lot of people opt out.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, that's been a big part of a lot of these games this year. So
sure has.
Going back to the Kansas State NC State game.
Yes.
It was the Pop-Tarts Bowl.
Oh yeah.
And they had a life-size Pop-Tart mascot who came out of the toaster before the game, and then during the trophy presentation celebration, he apparently held a sign that said "Dreams come true," and he like went back into the toaster, and then they slid out this like giant real Pop-Tart that looked like him. And, like players were like breaking off pieces and eating it.
That's awesome.
I was like, might be one of the best gimmicks there, because then today, or was it today or over the weekend, there was the Cheez-It Bowl, and the mascot's like, nah, I ain't going out like the Pop-Tart man.
That's hilarious. Well, shout out to Pop-Tart. They did a good job of marketing that bowl. Missouri pulls off a victory against Ohio State. The Buckeyes are claiming they didn't have their boys in there for this one. But either way, this was an interesting game, 14-3.
Shoulda, woulda, coulda. You
Yeah,
can go over the million reasons of why. I was thoroughly shocked that Mizzou won this game. I had a friend.
The way they did, like 14-3, like what?
Yeah, and they scored all their points in the fourth quarter.
Missouri did?
Yeah, Missouri, yeah. Yeah, Ohio State was leading 3-0. They got a field goal late in the first quarter and led 3-0 pretty much until early fourth quarter, when Mizzou got a touchdown run by Schrader, who is phenomenal. He's looked great all year. And then they had another touchdown late into the fourth quarter to seal it up.
Make it make sense, Dan. Make it make sense.
I can't, but I love that Ohio State lost. That's all I care about. I cannot.
Honestly, it is a little bit funny. Shout out AJ, president of Ohio over there. He can't be happy about this, but yeah, that is kind of amusing for the rest of us to watch. Notre Dame just absolutely killed Oregon State. Gotta say, dude, the senior quarterback who opted out still showed up to watch his boys, and goddamn, he looked good. Didn't he look so cool sitting there on the sidelines with his glasses and his freaking dapper jacket? That guy's going to have a good time in the NFL. He looks like Jesus. He literally looks like Jesus. But their backup wasn't bad. A fellow Steven from out there in Jersey, I believe, as well, had himself a hell of a game. And shout out fellow Steven. Good for you, bud. Absolutely killed Oregon State, who eventually found a touchdown at the very end of the game, but ultimately just got completely dominated. Notre Dame was doing a great job of making sure everyone got into this game. Apparently, they had all kinds of backups in there who were kicking the shit out of Oregon State still, so that was interesting.
Yeah, I had read that it was the largest win, like differential, in Notre Dame bowl game history.
Yeah, I saw that.
And they've been playing bowl games since like 1887 or something like that.
That's wild.
So that's wild.
That was just way better than Oregon State. I mean, if you're Oregon State, dude, Beavers. Although, isn't Oregon State the ones that are like losing their coach? Like the dude was like, "I'm out of here."
Yeah, and then that caused their quarterback to kind of be like,
Yeah. Okay. So they got a lot of controversy around those four bastards. So that
they got a lot going on there.
That kind of checks out. All right. Well, anyway, Clemson took care of business against Kentucky. I saw parts of this game, Dan. I really wish I would have watched the whole thing, dude. That thing was a shootout. The third quarter starts off with because Kansas already had the lead. Kentucky, I'm sorry, they already had the lead, and the next half starts off with them returning a kick for a touchdown. And this game was crazy. So I had other obligations, but man, great win here for Clemson. Come back at the end. Debo Sweeney. He needed this one, man. There's been a lot of people kind of talking a lot of shit about him, so I think he needed this one. Get back on track.
They've been calling for his head the last couple of years because he hasn't had a quality quarterback since Trevor Lawrence left.
Right.
And if you're not contending for national titles, what are you doing, right?
Right. Which kind of put them on the map. Like I hadn't really heard about Clemson much before him, so.
Clemson was bigger back in the day, and then they kind of, I think, got shuffled to obscurity for a little bit.
Well, either way, they are back. They get a bowl win here. Will absolutely help with all their future recruiting and such. And shout out to Kentucky though. They were really in this game. Like I said, they were leading for a huge portion of it. Had some players look pretty good. Memphis, Iowa State. I was watching a decent amount of this game, Dan. From what I could tell, Memphis was just a better team from the very get-go. But shout out to Iowa State and I think their freshman quarterback they just kept fighting. Like their dude Taylor, they had a big ass receiver named Higgins. Dude had like over 200 yards receiving. Him and the rookie were just constantly throwing it back and forth. But if I know anything about the Cyclones, is that they rely on their running back and they rely on their run game. And there was no run game to speak of in this game. Memphis absolutely shut it down. Ultimately leading them to just have to completely rely on the arm of this freshman, and that's just not a winning formula for the Cyclones. Plus, they couldn't stop them on defense. Memphis, I think one of their top safeties opted out for this game. So, yeah, Memphis just kind of had their way in the air.
Yeah, I was a little surprised that Memphis won. I mean, Memphis is consistently on the plus side of a program year in and year out, but Iowa State has just had some horrible games this year. I think this is another one of them. When they lost to Ohio, not Ohio State, Ohio, 10-7 earlier this year. That kind of put the ice in there, but good for Memphis. They're a team that could be looking to move conferences. I think in the next couple of years, being on the plus side of the American Conference, but we'll kind of see. They're doing a bunch of renovations to their venue in hopes to gain attention to whether it's Big 12 or somewhere else.
That'll be interesting. Shout out to them. I hope they have continued success. It was cool to see. Georgia just absolutely curb stomped Florida State. I think a lot of people saw this coming with as many opt-outs as Florida State had. At least that's what their fans are going to heavily use as the excuse here, Dan. But regardless, dude, you are a Division I program that was undefeated. How, Dan? How did you put up 3 points and you just get the skull fucking beaten?
I mean, that makes me question the depth of your program.
For sure.
There's plenty of teams that we've seen, like USC. Caleb Williams didn't play. Their backup QB just went out there and balled out. So we've seen teams that sit out, key players that you've seen all year, and they're still winning. They're still looking good. So, yeah, I'm really questioning the depth that Florida State has. And, much like you said for Notre Dame, they're working people through. Georgia was working their people through, too, as well. And their reserves were having stellar days, on top of that.
Yeah, that's an overall terrible day for Florida State. Like, dude, you have all your guys opt out of this, and then, whoever's left there just gets absolutely obliterated. It had to be so frustrating and sad to be on that field, man. Shit.
I mean, yeah, you can only get everybody so motivated. I believe last year in the national championship game when Georgia beat TCU, that was the record for the biggest point differential in a bowl game.
Yeah.
Well, Georgia beat it with this game on back-to-back years, winning by 60.
A lot of people saw this coming, but it had to have been absolutely scary to be on the receiving end of this for Florida State.
I mean, I expected Georgia to win this game, but I expected it to be remotely more competitive than this.
For sure.
I didn't think that they would drop 60 in a game.
I don't think anyone did. That was crazy. Ole Miss takes care of business against Penn State. So speaking of depth, Penn State didn't look like they had quite the depth to be able to get it done on offense in this game. They had a couple long runs. It was a really cool play. Like their one receiver caught the ball over the middle, and their two receivers who were in front of him just ran all the way down there with him, and some excellent blocking led to big play. So they had some big plays, but overall their offense wasn't very successful. Couldn't get the run game going. Leaving their quarterback at 3rd and longs all day, and their defense wasn't up to par. They did kind of keep them in the second half for a little while there, but ultimately you can't just keep on relying on your defense.
Yeah, so, Jackson Dart looked really good for them. He had almost 380 yards passing and 3 touchdowns. I mean, they were pretty much in control. That offense was moving up the field pretty well, more times than not. As you mentioned, sure, they got a late touchdown. But, I mean, really heading into late into the fourth quarter, they were up 38-17.
Yeah.
So it was never out of hand for Ole Miss.
It got away from Penn State quick. It was close there going into the second half, but they couldn't hang in the second half.
Yeah.
But yeah, ultimately dropped the ball. Penn State didn't quite have the depth to get it done. Maryland takes care of business against Auburn. This has got to be pretty big for anyone who's a Maryland fan out there, Dan. Maybe yourself.
No, but yeah, didn't see this one coming. Auburn favored by 5.5. But Loxley's been doing great things up there for the Terps. He's he did time at Maryland, but then went down and was a part of Saban's staff for a while. So he has a good coaching tree that he came from, and this is their third straight bowl win. So first time in school history that they've done that. So he does have them trending in the right direction for arguably a very competitive Big Ten conference. So
yeah, didn't they have like a super tight game against Ohio State this year?
Yeah, it's funny. Ohio State well. They lost 37-17, but it was really
Michigan, right?
Well, but at the end of the third quarter of that Ohio State Maryland game, they were down 20-17. So really, they just fell apart in the fourth quarter, letting up 17 points. So all in all, they had a great game. Yeah, and then they played Michigan very close as well. So those are kind of some of the big hitters in the conference that you see
for sure
that they do well. They knocked off Nebraska, so he has them doing good things there.
Sure, Nebraska's a big hitter. I mean, shout out to the boys, but like they have not been good lately.
Yeah, Auburn is just trying to find their pieces together, and he lost Bo Nix this year. He went to Oregon. So, they're trying to get it back together.
Yeah, true. So we'll give them the pass on this. Now, a game I watched was the Barstool Arizona Bowl, which, as you can see, Wyoming won. This game was so damn amusing, George. Fucking Dan. I encourage anybody and everybody to watch this game next year. If you have a chance to go to it, see it in live, do that. The broadcast was awesome. They were just freaking hilarious. They literally felt like it was Pat McAfee doing the broadcast. I mean, this is the Barstool guys. So they had like one dude trying to be semi-professional, but both the two commentators were just absolutely roasting this old ass Wyoming coach who was in his last game, was gonna retire after this one, and just had the most conservative offense ever. And the Barstool commentators were going wild on this dude, like, you gotta throw it, dude. You gotta throw it. Oh my god. But no, he just rides these guys out and eventually wins with a last minute kick. Very tight game. Toledo was in control for most of it. And they might have missed a pretty bad pass interference call, towards the end of the game that Toledo had that would have kept their drive going, at least gave them an extra field goal. Not the case. Instead, they give the ball back to Wyoming, who their backup quarterback comes in because their starter was injured after throwing a beautiful pass. The backup has to come back in and leads them down there and ultimately gets them to field goal range, and they win and send their coach off with a victory.
Yeah, I think I saw that they were actually reading tweets during the game.
They were. It was hilarious, dude. Oh my god! And then he brought up his haters list. He brought up like people who were sending him like hurtful DMs. He's just like basically like, yeah, you could go fuck yourself too. Yeah, you're a total loser. Whatever, dude. Just like it was crazy, dude. This was hilarious.
Yeah, it was like the Jimmy Kimmel meme tweets hit sports.
Seriously, and apparently like the Toledo fans were complaining at one point, like, go fuck yourself, Toledo fans, all right? Like I don't even know, man. It was hilarious.
I mean,
the broadcast was completely out of control.
I
want this. This is what I want. New 4 media covering these games, please. Look, like in the middle of the fourth quarter, they break it all down so they can do some silly kicking contest with this dude with like an overall who's just like, God bless America and God bless the troops. And then he gets up there and does a terrible kick. But like Taylor Lewan's running the whole thing and he's hilarious. And he's just like, you're a winner. You suck.
No, I mean, we've joked about this before on here about getting like an adult version of sport coverage that's just like brutal and honest. And maybe these guys need to do it.
I'm telling you, they're doing it. They're here in their second year of sponsoring this and just getting away with it. I was like, how are they doing that?
Maybe we got to go to this game next year.
I think we might, Dad, because if it's in Arizona, that's not a bad place to hang out either.
No, not at all.
So, I mean, it is for New Year's, so that might be interesting. But yeah, I'm not opposed to that, Dan, because this was thoroughly amusing. Just like I hope this episode of Sports by Compian was thoroughly amusing for our fans. Please remember to like and subscribe. Send it to your friends and family, and even your enemies. Although Daniel has tons of enemies, so yeah, Dan, if you just start sending that to some of your enemies, dude, we could really grow here as a podcast. Have you thought about this?
Yeah, I'll pull up my hater list too, and
yes, dude,
start send it
to the hater list. Anyway, people, Happy New Year! It's going to be a great year of sports coverage. Don't fear not when the NFL ends, which will be sad for all of us involved. The United Football League shall emerge. We have a tiny video coming for that, so pay attention to that. There's also MLR. There's also going to be Six Nations. There's always going to be impact sports going on, Dan. Don't worry, okay? Were you worried?
Never.
Well, don't be, okay? It's going to be fine. Anyway, Sports by Compian, out.